Welcome back to the Keep It Bright podcast. I'm Zara. Thank you for joining me. I'm the creator of all things Keep It Bright, and today's episode is actually about running a small business. And I've had a lot of people ask me things, obviously, regarding running a small business because I've done it for so long now. And I'm no expert by any means. Yes, I've run my business for 15 years now, but it started out completely as a hobby, and it's not been the most conventional of journeys, and I didn't ever sit down and make a business plan or anything like that. So I'm happy to always answer questions and give advice from my perspective, but it's not really an action plan to follow as such, which is why I don't really ever make how to start a business things, because also the internet and the world is a massively different place now from when I first started my business 15 years ago. When I started, I wasn't even on Facebook, it was MySpace. Social media really wasn't more than MySpace at that time. MySpace and forums and MSN. There wasn't Facebook, Instagram, things like that. YouTube definitely wasn't what it is now. The internet just isn't what it is now, and if you weren't about in that time, then it's kind of hard to imagine a world that's so much less resourceful than it is now. So the good news is it's definitely easier to start anything than it ever has been, and there's more resources than ever for free to help you along the way, which is the great news. But so going over my journey as such, as how I started, isn't super useful because it's kind of outdated information. The same way if somebody who started a business in the 80s or 90s was to tell you how they started now, it's interesting to know, but it's not really actionable information that can be transferred onto now. Anyway, as for the parts that can help, there's definitely plenty of things that I wish I had implemented sooner, plenty of things I wish I'd started doing a long time ago that I do now, and things like that. So there's definitely a lot I can share that could be valuable to you if you're just starting out, or if you're not sure what you should maybe be doing extracurricular to help your business. So there's definitely things I can share, and I've had some questions from some of you about small business related things, so I'm going to be answering those. But most of all, this is going to be a podcast just discussing small business tips, advice, things like that, but then also how to stay positive and motivated, because it's not easy. Just because you do something you enjoy or you love or something you're interested in doesn't mean it's a walk in the park, doesn't mean every day is a delight. And I think sometimes the way being an entrepreneur or having your own business is portrayed is very glamorized and made to look like it's just easy, that you're making money all the time, that you're just living a life of luxury, whereas anyone who has a small business will know that it's very much full-time. When you're not doing it, you're thinking about it, and even when you have a healthy balance there with your small business and the rest of your life, it still takes so much time, energy and work to make it work. And one thing about there being more resources than ever and everything being more accessible than ever and everything, which is great, but it is obviously the markets are more saturated than ever, and is a lot more competition out there, whereas they would have felt like there was less back in the day. So to start off with, I wanted to talk about how things are going at the moment. So it feels timely to be doing this episode because business has been really slow for me the past few months sales-wise, and to be honest, the past year has been probably financially one of my worst years since I started properly making sales. And that can sound quite might not sound the best place to start if you're trying to listen to my small business advice, but that's just how it goes sometimes. And sometimes that's for things outside of your control, and sometimes it's for things inside of your control, but you haven't had the energy to give it all to your business. So for example, for my business, I am, a one-woman show. I do everything. So I do everything from making products to designing to marketing to packing orders to all the social media, emails, everything I do everything when it comes to Keep It Bright. And energy is a big thing. Like if I don't have the time or energy to do something, then it doesn't get done. And that's one of the things of being self-employed and being your own boss, is that you are responsible for everything that needs to get done, unless obviously you then get staff or you outsource things you need to do to other people. But when you're starting out, if you can't afford to do that, or if you can't do that, then obviously it is all up to you. And as much as we like to make big long to-do lists of all the things we want to do today, it's normal to not actually have the energy to do all of those things, because even with the best of willpower, I feel like it's depending what you're putting on your list, it might not be, you might be asking too much of yourself in one day to do all of the things. And even if you plan ahead, when it comes to that day, you might not feel like doing all the things. Now, I know everybody works differently. For me, I try not to be too hard on myself. I have a big long to-do list, and then every day I'll kind of section some things off that I plan to do that day. But if I don't really feel like doing them that day, and if I know I can do them the day after and swap something over that I actually feel like doing, I personally would rather do the thing I feel more like doing, because I feel like you do things better when you feel like doing them. Don't get me wrong, obviously there's plenty of things that we never feel like doing, like laundry or just other kind of boring tasks within our businesses where you don't actually want to do them, but you have to do them. And yeah, it's those tasks that it's hard to kind of get around to doing, and we just have to decide to do and get done at some point. But yeah, it's a lot of self-motivation required and just getting things done off your own back, which is definitely one of the harder parts for some people. And like I said, I'm quite good with myself. I try not to make myself feel bad for when I don't feel like doing something. As long as there's not like a deadline on it, I'll swap it for something that I feel more like doing it at the time. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was saying. There is times when business, for example, during lockdown and COVID and the various lockdowns, some people's businesses obviously really didn't do well because of however their business was set up, or if it wasn't something that kind of worked for that time period. Thankfully for me, my business seemed to do pretty decent, just kind of normal during the lockdown years, because I guess people were at home more and weren't spending as much outside. And then I significantly saw a massive drop in sales last year once the restrictions had lifted more where in the country I live in, and people were out again spending money outside of the internet. And I saw a massive drop in sales, which is why the past year for me has been a really difficult one financially. And I don't blame people at all. Of course, people wanted to get back out and spend the money how they want to spend it and all of that stuff. But yeah, sometimes it's things like that are kind of a bit out of your control that can play into why your sales are lower. Or, for example, things like social media algorithms. And I know people want to say, some people want to say there's no algorithm, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's algorithms, but yeah, obviously you should still do what you can and improve and grow as things change. But it does get so much harder when business accounts and professional accounts aren't favoured in those algorithms. So I've been on Instagram for such a long time now, maybe 10 years, 9-10 years, and maybe not 9 years, I'm not sure. And back when I had like 10 times less followers, my account did so much better and I generated so many more sales. Whereas now, with more followers, better content than ever, more varied content than ever, I'm definitely giving my best to my content. It's harder than ever to even get people seeing it. And if you're someone who follows me on Instagram, unless you're someone who engages with me a lot with comments and stuff, there's a chance you probably don't even see my posts on your timeline, even though I still post at least one time a day, most days twice. And that's because, unfortunately, they want you to, Facebook and Instagram want you to pay to promote your posts so that your followers see them and so that people see them, which is totally different to when I was, for the first few years I was on Instagram and everything was organic and people saw the posts of people they followed and it wasn't how it is now. It's all basically about them making money, really. And yeah, it can be really, really disheartening because obviously the less people who are interested in your stuff that see your posts, the less people will know it's available, the less people then buy it. So for me, it's been a massive, obvious knock-on effect. I'm doing what I can in the sense of I'm out here trying to create my best work, make lots of reels, do all of the things that people say you should do to improve. But it is hard to run the behind the scenes side of your business, run the customer facing side of your business, and then also think about all of those things and content and all of that stuff. So yeah, it can definitely be a lot, and it's a lot to juggle and it's a lot to manage. So if you're struggling, then please don't be hard on yourself, because it is a big job. It's not easy, and it's not simple either. A lot of the time there's just so much to think about and plan out and do. So don't be hard on yourself if you're not managing to do it all of the time. No one can anyway, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's been a rough year business-wise, and it's also been especially a rough couple months, the past 2 months. Not sure why, but I've been using this time, as I might have said in one of my other podcasts, since the beginning of this year, I've been really focusing my energy inwards and really giving time to create my best work, to giving it my all, and just doing my best at everything. So like I've been using that time, that quiet business time, to get things done off my to-do list, to redo everything on my website. For example, I've just redone like every single product description of like 350 products, and set up like more ads. So there is things you can do. Obviously you can set up adverts and stuff, but it is an expensive thing to do. There's loads more I can do and I've got on my list to do, but yeah, I've been using the past few months just to be proactive with it and level up my game, really, because I've had so much going on in my personal life in the past 14 years before this year that I can honestly say I've never been able to I've given it 100% of my time when I've had time, but have I given it all of my energy and like thought and like the smart work? No, I haven't. I've done the hard work, not the smart work, in previous years, but I just didn't have the headspace because I had so much going on in my personal life, unfortunately. So in this past 6 months, I've really been wanting to work smarter and just create my best work, so that I'm doing my best and creating things I'm most proud of and happy with, and it's been great. So even though business has been quiet, I actually can't believe, when I'm recording this now, it's the middle of May, and I can't believe it's already that far through the year. But yeah, so since the beginning of the year, I've just been giving it my all, really, and even if business is slow and sales are down, I'm really proud of all the things I've created this year and everything I've managed to do. And I know I've created like my best work with like the kids book, and the self-care book is so much better than before, and all the new designs I've been working on I love, and I'm really proud of the work I'm doing. And just because business is quiet, I've not been feeling as stressed or down as I would have done in previous years, because I've been using that time and using that energy efficiently and to do better, basically. I've also been reading and listening to and watching loads of like things to help me improve everything. So YouTube is a great place for like free tips on anything and everything business related. Anything you don't understand how to do, somebody out there on YouTube explains how to do it for free, or you could read blogs on it. And there really is like free helpful resources for everything. An Instagram account that's been really helpful is called the Small Business Handbook. I've been watching a lot of her courses and her just free content on Instagram as well. There's so much help out there, so don't feel stuck, because there is just so much that you could learn and improve on, whether that's like SEO or your website or Instagram or Reels or TikTok or whatever it is. There's always just so much to learn. So I follow a lot of people who are there with the tips for that stuff, because again, I'm I'm learning and growing and going along with all the changes and trying to keep on top of stuff too. So definitely make sure you're following and checking out accounts like that can help you, or just YouTube, like small business growth tips and things like that. There's a lot of help out there, and you're definitely not alone. And there's also a lot of like Facebook groups and stuff where for like small business owners and stuff, where at least you can kind of have a vent and have a rant, and you'll see that a lot of people are in the same boat as you, which isn't obviously a nice feeling, but it's not just you that's struggling. Sometimes it's just the economy, and it's just not happening for a lot of people. So yeah, there's always more you can be doing to like grow and learn and sort out the back end stuff while sales are quiet. And even just things like taking the time to film videos, take better pictures of your products. I've been doing all of that. I've been taking better pictures, improving everything I can on my website, taking time to film more video content, edit, all that stuff. As you know, if you do have a small business, takes so much time and adds up. And it's something, I mean, I do every single day is edit photos, edit videos. So it's a good time to do all of those things and think about how you can improve what you already do so that it's kind of optimized to be serving you well. Like I said, in previous years, I've definitely not managed well with the stress at all. I've had so much like financial pressure to deal with. And it's mad because for me, I started Keep It Bright. Literally, I did it for free basically for so long. Even when I first started making stuff, I mean, I made nothing on those things I sold. I probably lost money on a lot of the things I sold because I was making like one of a kind pieces that took me hours and hours and days, and I charged like nothing for them because I just wanted to be making stuff and selling it and just get myself off the ground. And there was plenty of years I didn't make any money at all, and I probably lost a lot of money. Well, not a lot of money, but because I wasn't making that much. But I didn't start Keep It Bright for the money side of it at all. And I think that's really important when people ask like, what's your motivation when business is difficult and things like that. I know obviously a lot of people do get into business because they want to make money, but I really think that for you to be able to ride out the rough patches and those difficult days, there has to be like more motivation than just money. Obviously, some things might just be purely a money thing, and that might be what motivates you. But I think that can get really frustrating, and you can lose love for the thing you're doing if you even had love for the thing you're doing. For me, this is something I love to do and have always done pretty much for 15 years now, and will hopefully always do, whether it makes money or not. I would still be doing like the posting online and things like that. Even if I had to get a different job just to support my family, I would still be doing what I could on the free side of Keep It Bright. So because I love it, because it's my mission, because that's my, like, I feel is my purpose that I've chosen in this world to do. So obviously not everything has to be like as dramatic as a purpose or a mission, but even if it's just that you want to help people feel more this way, or you want to help something be more efficient, or whatever it is, having a bit of a purpose and a bit of a why there helps a lot on days where the money's not coming in and you still know why you do that thing or why this is what you're doing instead of something else. That being said, we all have bills and responsibilities and things that can make it so stressful for us when sales are down. I definitely feel that like I've always had a lot of financial responsibility, looking after myself, but then also my family, and I still do. I still financially responsible for myself and my mom and my pets and stuff. So it can be very, very real and very, very worrying when business is slow, because you have people relying on you and it can be easy to spiral. And I definitely have had some very stressed out years where I just didn't know how I was going to make it work, and so many people were depending on me. So yeah, not fun, but I'm definitely dealing with it, considering it's been like the worst business year financially. I'm definitely dealing with it like 100 times better than the previous years of similar things happening. And I think that's because instead of giving my energy to worry, which literally does nothing apart from make me feel shit and waste my time, I'm giving my energy to being proactive and doing what I can do about it, because worry literally sends you on this downward spiral, which is just so unhelpful. It's unproductive. It's just draining, and you gain nothing from it. It's familiar, but you gain nothing from it. Whereas if you use that same energy and time to just think about what you can do, if there's any actions you can take, if there's anything you can improve, what else you could be doing, and put your energy into that instead, then that's just such a better use of your time, and that could actually lead to something positive happening or some moves being made ahead. And that's what I've been doing, because to be honest, like if you've seen my Instagram stories and stuff, this week I have been worrying a lot because it has been super quiet, and I know that I'm going away next week for a week, and for me going away is even quieter, so it's just one of those things. But I'm going to use the time, like I said, to do what I can and work on more new things, use the downtime to write something new, to create new things, and just do what I can. So I would definitely recommend, if you find yourself worrying, to write a list of what you can control, what you can do, and what's out of your control and what you can't do something about, and just work on the stuff you can do. Make a bit of an action plan from the can do steps to refer to when you're feeling helpless, because it is a horrible feeling, and I totally can relate, because it's very recently that's what's been going on. And then also I've had this, it's just unfortunately part of small business life is that money and sales are not always a given, and it can be really difficult, and I totally feel that, which is why I wanted to make this episode, because it's like what's on my mind at the moment, but it's also something that I am dealing with so much better than I have in the past. So I thought if I can share some insights into why, then it might be helpful for anybody else if they're going through the same thing. Another tip for if things aren't really working or they feel like they're not working is just to try something new, to mix it up, because something new will be exciting and intriguing to your audience, but B, something new might be what's missing. Like maybe you've been doing things the same way for a while, and a mix up is needed just to give it more new energy. So for example, if you haven't been doing many like storytelling type reels, then tell your brand story. People are always more interested in your story than you think they are, and that's something that definitely falls into like kind of my regrets category when it comes to my business, is that for so many years I was just focused on creating and just getting by with like life and doing my thing, that I didn't take time out to storytell. And I know that's like something that's so important when it comes to small businesses especially. And it's because I was just too busy doing the day-to-day to sit down and think about how I wanted to do that. And that's something that I'm going to be focusing on more myself in the next few months, because my story is interesting and it is inspiring, and it's something that I want to share more of. There's just a lot there, and it takes time and effort to do all of that. So it's something I definitely want to do and wish I'd done more of from the beginning. I think obviously I've shared parts and stuff, and it's just, it's one of those things that just takes a lot of energy, but is really interesting. And remember that even if you think your life is not that interesting because you're used to it, it doesn't mean other people won't be fascinated by it, because we all have such different lives and stories and journeys, and people love to hear about other people's journeys too. So if you haven't told kind of your personal story or journey yet, then definitely look into sharing that however you feel comfortable, however much you feel comfortable sharing, because it only ever brings you and your audience closer together, I found. And obviously it gives a lot more kind of background and insight to why you do what you do, and who you are, and all of that good stuff. And the other thing I really wish I had done from the beginning which I am trying to do a lot more of now consciously, that I definitely recommend every entrepreneur or small business owner does, is to just record everything. Record everything. When I started, like I said, the world was a different place. We didn't have, we had mobiles with cameras. I didn't at that point, but we had mobiles with cameras, but the quality was like 1 megapixel. Like, it was nothing. And I don't think you could record video a lot of the time on some phones. Some phones just, literally the capacity, everything was just different. It's just hard to even imagine it now, looking back, even though I didn't have a smartphone for ages, but it's hard to imagine how different it is. Now you can literally pick up your phone, and most phones have like an amazing built-in camera. You can record like loads of long content. You can do anything. It wasn't like that back when I started, and if I wanted to take a picture, it would have to be with a digital camera if I had one at the time. And that was that. And not all of them even record a video. And I just really don't have many pictures or videos at all of me working in those first few years, which is a big shame, because I would absolutely love to have those now, just for storytelling, just to show where it started and where it is now, because so much has changed. But I don't have like pictures or videos, and it's like really gutting. I have pictures from that time, but I don't have pictures of me working. And obviously when you look back to that time, you don't know how big something could get or how far you're going to come, so you don't even think it's anything remarkable. But if you're just starting out now, I definitely say record your little workspace, record your humble beginnings, because you're going to want that footage when it comes round to where you are in the future, and you want to be able to show where you started. A lot of the time as well, I didn't even think to take pictures of my workspaces, because until 5 years ago, when I got my first office space, I was literally working from my bedroom, and my bedrooms for those first 10 years were like absolutely squashed, cramped, crowded, like messy rooms, because if you imagine, like, they were all A, small rooms to begin with, but then B, you've got all your normal amount of stuff that you have in a bedroom, clothes, everything, all your belongings, but then plus stock, art supplies, all that stuff. It was crazy. Like, it was so squashed in, so it didn't look good, and it was really like messy. And I'm guessing I would have probably been embarrassed if somebody were to take pictures of that at the time, because it didn't look good. I didn't have money for like nice organizational boxes or anything like that. And at the time I would have probably been just thought, well, who wants to see this? I don't want to share this with the world. But now I really wish I had pictures or videos. Like, I really wish I did, because then the contrast of my workspace now, even though it is working from home, is just worlds apart. And I would love to be able to show that kind of inspiring story of how I started, but I don't have pictures to illustrate it, which is a real shame. So even if you don't think your workspace is amazing, or it's just a humble space to start with, definitely take the pictures, take the videos, because one day you'll be glad you have them, so you can show how far you've come. That's something I really, really wish I had, and unfortunately something I can't really do much about. And also, any pictures and stuff I do have from that time I've lost those phones, or their hard drives have corrupted, and all that kind of stuff. And it's a real shame, because in my head I know exactly what those spaces look like, and it was just it's just such a harsh contrast to what I have now, where it's like a whole room just for my work, and it's organised, and it's nice looking, and I'm proud of it. And so definitely come a long way, but it's always good to have those things to show as like proof of where you came from, and as inspiration for others. So definitely don't be shy, don't be embarrassed, just record everything. Even if you don't end up using it in the future, it's good to have it, and it's better to have the footage and not need it than to wish you had it, because then you can't just produce it out of thin air, can you? So I would definitely recommend recording everything, sharing the progress, sharing the process. Back when I've never been like focused on perfectionism or anything, I've not had room to be, because I've started with nothing and had to really just make do with what I had for so many years. So I've not had room to be a perfectionist or resources to be a perfectionist. But even when it comes to sharing your behind the scenes, your journey, your processes, I think for a long time on Instagram there was the kind of thing of people sharing things when they're perfect or when they're done. Whereas people, again, are interested in the process and the behind the scenes of how it's made, of a look at you making it, designing it, whatever it might be. And even for me, I found that that's the content that does the best, is the behind the scenes stuff, or the journey of making the product or designing the product. So again, things that are kind of boring and repetitive or normal to you are going to be interesting to people who don't do that thing. So definitely record as much as you can. And especially with the way the world of social media is going, it's all video based, and more so video based than picture based now. So record absolutely everything. You don't know when you could find it like useful for TikTok or Instagram storytelling. So yeah, definitely record everything, share your behind the scenes, share your story. Those are three of the biggest things I'd say. And if you're kind of self-conscious or not confident about getting on the camera or talking to your screen or talking to you face to face, basically with your customers, remember that nobody is 100% confident all the time. Be scared and choose to be brave. Like, choose to be brave, choose to be honest. Nobody feels completely without insecurities or 100% confident all the time. And people, again, will relate to you more if you are just honest. And even if you're a little bit scared or unconfident, you could say that if you wanted to, but don't let it stop you from being customer facing in your videos and stuff. People, again, love to see the person behind the brand. They want to see who it is that they're supporting and whose work it is that they're watching. And now more so than ever, people are really interested in that behind the scenes stuff. So definitely don't let your fear stop you from putting yourself out there. I fully go on stories with no makeup on, not even looked in a mirror, multiple times a week now. Like, that's just real, and that's just how everybody else is too. Like, no one's there done up all the time. And I think it's important for your audience to see you in that way as well, like just normal. And you don't need to be perfect to speak to them, and you don't need to be perfect to just provide value or to inspire. So bear that in mind. You don't have to be word for word perfect. Like, listen to this podcast, I've not been perfect, and you know what, I'm not even going to edit it. I just want to leave it as raw as possible, as I've been finding it saves me so much more time now, not going through and editing out like the R's and the ums. And that's just how I talk, and that's just how it is. If you ever watch me in video form talking, that's how I talk. So no point me putting out a perfectly polished podcast with no R's and ums, because that is how I speak. So it's not going to stop me from providing value to you guys, and it's not going to stop me from actually helping. But if I then have if I have the excuse of, oh, it takes me ages to edit my podcast, and that's the reason I don't want to make more of them, then that is going to stop me from providing value and help. So remember that you don't have to be perfect, and people don't expect perfect from other humans. They don't. They want real and honest and relatable hits a lot better than polished perfect robot. I was doing so well on the alliteration, but yeah. So yeah, just be you, be chill, be however you want to be. It's weird because even for me, I've always been just the same way and been like just how I feel like being on camera and podcasting, whatever I'm doing, even in talks and stuff. But even I've had times where I think, oh, well, for example, like the American positivity accounts I follow and people like that, they can be so much like chirpier and like enthusiastic sounding, and just like they sound so full of energy. And as much as I love to hear that stuff, I just like can't put that on, and that's just not who I am. So there's been times where I've thought, oh, do I need to make an effort to be more like visibly like seeming chirpy and positive and happy and all of that, when that's what I do. Like, I'm talking about positivity, but I don't talk about it in that way that I see so many of like the other people doing it. But I've never tried to fake doing that because I just can't do it. It's just not my energy. It's just not the way I talk, and it's just not how I am. So that's fine. Like, I don't have to be like them, and you don't have to be like whoever else in your field either, because the people who like that kind of thing will be drawn to that kind of personality. But then there's going to be people out there who like the more chill, less frills approach, like mine, for example. I think there's going to be people who prefer my kind of more just I don't know, it's quite chill, isn't it? It's not over the top with excitement. It's mellow, I guess, compared to some of the positivity speakers out there and stuff. But there's going to be people who obviously prefer someone like me talking, and that's who it's for then. It's for the people who like that, and you don't have to be for everyone. You don't have to appeal to everybody, and that's totally fine. And one last thing, somebody had asked me in one of my Instagram Q&As on how to stay positive when running a business. And I'd say it's the same as staying positive just in general. It's don't expect unrealistic levels of positivity and happiness from yourself all day long. I feel like emotions kind of come and they go. So happiness is quite fleeting. It's not something that you just stay in a state of happy all the time. And it's totally fine to kind of feel various things throughout the day. You're not a robot, and you're not always going to feel positive. You're not always going to feel in a fantastic mood. But I think keeping things in perspective and staying hopeful is a better way to stay hopeful that things will work out and that good things are coming and that you are capable, and believe in yourself. Self-belief has always got me as far as I've come already, and I really think believing that things are going to work out and staying positive in that way, believing things are going to work out well, that you're going to do good at whatever you attempt and that you're capable, is a great way to think and a great mindset to have. That doesn't mean you're chipper every single day and that you're feeling great every single day, because I just don't think that's realistic to expect that from yourself. But then don't be hard on yourself when you're not feeling your best, because business is obviously one part of your life and your business is a big part of your life, but there's always everything else that's going on. So I think treat it the same as everything else. Stay as grateful as you can, as hopeful as you can, but don't be hard on yourself when you are feeling down. Just focus on self-care in those moments if you can. And self-care has been so important in my journey in general, but also in my business journey. As soon as I started to make more time for myself and more time to rest, I felt I was less burnt out and less stressed out. And I think that's been the big difference for me in these past 3 years, when I've had more work-life separation, or whatever you want to call it, work-life balance. I've made more time to rest, more kind of chill time, and that has overall helped me so much. And I think that's, whether you're employed, self-employed, whatever, that's really the key to staying in a healthy mindset, is taking those breaks, looking after yourself, making time for yourself. It doesn't have to be anything super lavish. Have a listen to my self-care episode if you need more tips on how to incorporate self-care into your daily routine. Because it doesn't mean running bubble baths every day or anything like that. It could just be giving yourself an hour off in the evening to watch some TV that makes you feel good. It doesn't look the same for all of us, but it's important that we all make time for that downtime, because our brains are just thinking all day long and overthinking sometimes. So making time for whatever that downtime looks like for you is super important, and that just goes for life in general, not just being self-employed. The more you look after yourself, the easier everything else feels to look after, and the more capable you feel. If I'm well rested and I've had enough sleep, I find dealing with everything that day so much better and easier than if I've not slept enough and then I'm ratty and I feel irritated or like I haven't got the energy. So look after yourself and it becomes easy to look after everything else. I really, really stand by that. So that was my tips, some of my tips and advice on if you're kind of struggling at the moment with business stuff, and I hope it was helpful for you. If you've got any other questions related to small business stuff, let me know and I can do another episode on those questions or other topics like that. Just let me know. And I hope you found this helpful, and wishing you all the best with your small business or whatever it is that you do. And if you don't have one and you just listen anyway, thank you for listening. Appreciate it. Hope you have a great day and a great week, and sending lots of love your way.